Good evening. Hello, I'm Cassandra Joan Butler and also Agent 56 with the Cosmic Intelligence Agency. And this is Cosmic Connections for this week. And we're here to look a little bit at the astrology and also to offer some spiritual messages and just to meet and connect. So we are heading towards the second of the new moons in Virgo for 2025. We have yet another eclipse on Sunday. And in preparing for this eclipse, I'm not saying that everything is going to fall into place magically and beautifully, but I think after what we've experienced in the past 1 week in this country, in the United States, and therefore going into all areas of the world, in my estimation, it really represents the polarity of Pisces and Virgo. Let me explain. So welcome as you're coming into the room. Hi, Sherry, Amory, Diane. Good evening, Carol. Hi, thanks for being here. You've heard me say this before, but it's really worth mentioning. In 2025, we have a gestalt or a narrative that's running as the eclipses are moving, and they transit in a certain pattern once every 19 years. And they're called the transiting nodes, lunar nodes. And again, they're visually represented by the lunar and solar eclipses. So in 2025, there's a polarity going on. There's a dichotomy. There's a push-pull between the north node of Pisces, which is the representation of going to where Pisces falls in your chart, or going to the qualities of what Pisces is, which is unconditional love, forgiveness, and transcendence, and a connection with God, Spirit, sometimes specifically Jesus Christ, because Pisces is, of all the signs, the most Christian descriptive energies. You can make an argument that Taurus is more Buddhist, et cetera, but I divert. Pisces represents the qualities which are maintained and celebrated in the Christian faith on paper. Forgiveness, unconditional love, turning the other cheek. That's Pisces. Pisces is the forest. Then the opposite sign, which is percolating in 2025 until August 20th of 2026, is Virgo. Now, Virgo is the south node, and the south node represents that which is negative of that sign. Virgo is not a negative sign. Please, Virgo is the sign of working and service, and it's a wonderful energy. It's the discerning sign. But when it's in the south node placement, it's asking us to observe the qualities of negative Virgo in yourself and observe perhaps the negative qualities and the narrative of the outside world, the movie that we're all a part of, the culture. So Virgo negative is nasty talk, cruelty, nitpicking, negativity. The negative shadow side of Virgo is negativity. The negative side of Virgo is carping, being so critical that people shrivel. If you've ever been around a nasty Virgo energy, and I can be nasty Virgo energy, please. We all have some shadow sides of Virgo in our charts. Sometimes that nastiness can be directed to self or other people. So with that context, friends, I invite you to explore your own life since the 7th of September, and as we move towards the new moon solar eclipse of the 21st. And look at what's going on in your own life and ask yourself, who can I forgive? Could be yourself. How can I stop nitpicking and being critical and judging things or people, specifically people, on one or two, I call them branches, of judging a person in their holism by the trees, judging the forest by one tree, judging one person's qualities by one phrase they made or one situation they did, judging the book by its cover, as it were. It's a little deeper than that. I like the trees and the forest motif when I talk about Virgo and Pisces. Virgo representing the trees, and the forest is Pisces, the holism. It can also be understood in terms of mental health. Virgo can be mentally ill. All of us can be. If we're ruminating, if we're reflecting, if we're nitpicking too much, if we're falling in the deep end and we're just all fluffled with too much negative thinking and speaking. And Pisces can be illusional or disillusioned or feeling like they're losing faith. So you get, I hope we get the feeling there's this dichotomy for the entire year in 2025, but we circle March, specifically March 14th, as having an eclipse when some of this energy was being shook up or risen to the surface. And then we circle September, specifically September 7th and September 21st. So let's bring this down to earth, this teaching, this dichotomy between Virgo and Pisces. We had the killing of Charlie Kirk. And that's horrific. I don't think, well, I would expect that there's not a person on the planet that would ever advocate the killing of anyone. Sadly, unfortunately, we have heard people, individuals, could be rumors, they could be bots, I hope they're not real people, that are celebrating this individual's death. Wow, that's Virgo Pisces. You could even make an argument that some individuals are calling him a martyr. That's a Piscean energy. And of course, what drove this individual, Charlie Kirk, was his Christian faith, his Christian beliefs. That was the core of who he was, in my understanding. Now, to be honest with you, a week ago, I didn't really know that much about Charlie Kirk. I kind of did a deep dive in the past 7 days, listening to his videos, looking at his chart, and trying to figure out who this individual was. My curiosity. And of course, I think many of you did that as well. So I want to share with you what I discovered, and am interested in your processing of this week as well. All right, so I'm sorry, I don't have a standalone chart, and I don't think any astrologer knows for sure at this moment what time he was born, because we don't have a time of birth. What we do know is his birth date. So with that birth date, I plopped it on top of the United States' chart. Most astrologers are in somewhat agreement that the US has a chart, well, definitely has a chart, everything has a chart, which was born somewhere around 510, 511 on July 4th of 1776. It's called a Sibley chart. It's called a Sibley chart because Ebenezer Sibley was an astrologer in London, presumably who suggested that the forefathers of the United States of America use that time to build this country. All right, having said that, Kirk's chart is on top of the US's chart. And I think this is really enlightening when you look at this individual. How I look at life is through the lens of astrology. So much has been said about his ability to speak and to negotiate and to debate and talk to people that disagree with him. I mean, one of his major calling cards was going to colleges, presumably, and doing prove me wrong seminars where he'd be talking with people one-on-one who disagreed with him. And he was known for his diplomatic way of reasoning and logic, peppered with an amazing recall of facts and figures. Okay, so does that show up in his chart? Oh, yeah, it does. The double Libra. Libra is the most polite of all the signs. But his moon was behind the sun, and that represents what we call the balsamic phase of the month. And balsamic represents that which is the visionary, the Johnny Appleseed. So yes, his moon was behind the sun. Jupiter was next to his sun. I found this really interesting when I was looking at the chart comparison to the US chart, that his moon was conjunct, or is conjunct, the Saturn in the US's chart. What's Saturn? Saturn's a grumpy old man. It's a sign and planet in Libra of authority. You could make an argument that the US expresses its authority through its constitution, through the rule of law. And Kirk's emotions was on top of that, kind of holding that in sacred space. His sun is next to or on top of Juno, which is the energy of partners in the US's chart. Some other little comments and qualities. This is not just an astrology class. I'm just sharing this with you. But I find this very interesting that he's also described as controversial. He has a Mars conjunct Mercury in Scorpio, the researcher, passionate communicator, and can be a doggy dog focused in his communication, opposite the US's Vesta. So Vesta is the spiritual gift of a person or a country, and Vesta represents literally how we practice religion. You might recall that the forefathers wanted to have a country where we had a division of state and religion and so forth, but he was very pointed with that quality in the US, asserting his vigor and his ideas and his spirituality. And of course, his destiny mark is in the sign of Sagittarius, which is the truth seeker. So you may have heard some of those words bandied about by admirers of him, and even people who do not admire him, the diplomacy for sure, in the past week. It's his chart exactly. That's why I love looking at the charts. Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett said she was discussing the danger in this country of failing to engage with those who disagree with us, because at the cornerstone of the United States, on paper, and she said that's what Charlie Kirk did. He consistently engaged with the other side. Charlie Kirk was murdered while engaging one of our most sacred and cherished American ideals, the free exchange of ideas. Okay, I like that. That's what she was saying this past week. So the idea is that this might help explain that he had millions and millions of people who absolutely cherished his gifts, and he also has detractors. And again, I guess I'm living in some sort of delusion because I can't believe some of the pushback this past week. I get tongue-tied even talking about it. The angry, poisonous words coming out with certain people, not everybody, not anybody, I'm not calling names out who's doing these horrific name calling of celebrating murder. But as an astrologer, I'm looking out and say, yep, there it is. Virgo, the shadow side of Virgo, asking us to look at how are we name calling others. And we're seeing that in real time in social media. So that's the astrological lesson. Forgiveness, Pisces, go to the North Node, versus the opposite, of course, which is the negative side of Virgo, which is horrific, cruel words. Remember, Virgo is ruled by Mercury, which is the wordsmith. So for all of us coming up on this Sunday, the 21st, we get a second eclipse. We had our first eclipse this September 7th. We had the first new moon on August 23rd at 0 degrees of Virgo. So you astrologers, dive in, look at where Virgo falls in your chart and ask yourself, how am I letting go of negative thoughts and negative words in my own life? This is an interesting chart happening on Sunday. The Sabian symbol is the conquest of an illusion. Let me read this from my book here. 29 degrees of Virgo. Totally intent upon completing an immediate task, a man is deaf to any allurement. It represents the total concentration required for reaching any spiritual goal. So for each of us, myself included, if you want to develop a spiritual goal, sometimes you have to turn off the noise, turn off the social media, turn off negative speak, turn off criticism with yourself or other people, turn it off. And the interpretation is, attention may be distracted from the now, in the now, by a voice from the past, glamorizing some old memory. And so the soul is being asked to conquest an illusion. More specifically, this could be a difficult type of day And by the way, the eclipses are so powerful. I'm reminding you to rewind and know that the eclipses are turning points of energy. So this particular eclipse on Sunday has its evolutionary track until next February. So eclipses aren't one and done. They're like new moons and full moons on steroids. They're big portals of change. So even though this is just being birthed on Sunday, we're going to have a long time, 6 months, to work on conquesting an illusion. What happens on this start gun? We have Saturn opposite the new moon solar eclipse. Saturn is that grumpy old man, that authority figure. And so we may be feeling a little insecure by the boss, the authority figure, the father figure, the government figure, the person that might chastise you as you are trying to conquest your illusion. So be aware, this is a stirring up of old fears, and it can just stir up fear itself. It's also asking us to discipline the impulse to change. If you want to change something in your life, maybe your health, maybe your diet, maybe your thinking, maybe your career, maybe your relationship, you have to discipline it. Saturn is saying, hello, let's be very disciplined and don't wallow from what you're trying to do. The new moon eclipse is sextile Jupiter. It's asking us to do some big changes and have big hopes for change. Jupiter is the Santa Claus archetype of go big or go home, right? So this new moon is asking us to expect big changes and expect to have some big confidence thrown into the loop. The new moon eclipse is sextiling Juno. It's asking us to ask the help of our partners. Don't be fearful of asking for help to achieve whatever goal is on your short list. The new moon eclipse is in conjunct Chiron, and I think we can apply this certainly to the society that we're observing out there. Chiron's the wounded healer. The new moon eclipse is in conjunct Chiron. We may find difficulty in finding solutions to healing a deep wound in our culture, in that culture, in this culture, in our homes, in our families, in our states, in our nations. We might be feeling that, oh gosh, weariness or despair. Can we keep on keeping on and find some solutions to difficult issues? Whenever you hear the word in conjunct in astrology, it reminds you have to do some fancy footwork. So that's what's going on with this new moon on Sunday. All right. Hi, everyone. Hi, Brenda, Joanne. Big hugs to Paula, Marie, and Linnell and Nancy from North Borneo. How an interesting place to be from, my dear. Hi, Diane, Gurjeet. Hello, Debbie, Summer Ray. Hello, Ryan. Hello, Terry, Sarah, Joan, Kat, Julius. Hello. Big hugs to you all. Hello, Julia, Simons. Hello, Jennifer and Joni and Dana and Linda and Ryan and Angela and Janet and Barbara. Fun friends here all. So my question for the night, how are you trying to balance the forest with the trees, keeping that centerpiece in mind? Don't judge one branch to define the entire forest, and tone down criticism. I got lots of Virgo. And you know who I criticize most of all? Me. Wherever you find that Virgo, try to balance, not unconditional love for everything and everyone necessarily, but have that discernment and that balance. That's our lesson that we're seeing in real time, maybe in your homes, families, psyche, or in your nation or your state. So let's take a look at the conquest of an illusion. Starting with the Aries folks, this is a new moon on Sunday that helps you with your work, helps you with your health, helps you get disciplined on finally taking out the clutter in your home and finally taking out the clutter in your office and getting serious about getting healthier. That's for you, Aries. For Tauruses, this energy is going to torpedo your need to have fun and to have creativity, and to get rid of just thinking and dreaming and just do it. Like Nike says, just do it. Taurus, have fun, have some pleasure, and get creative. For Gemini or Gemini rising, it's all about your home, your family, maybe again, cleaning out the clutter, conquesting the illusion. You know what? Maybe things won't go in a particular direction with my family. It's okay. I forgive them. I forgive myself. Maybe I won't be able to move. I forgive myself. I forgive the economy because I can't get a loan for a new home. I have no idea. But it's about home and family for you, Gemini. For Cancer or Cancer rising, it's all about the way you're processing information. So conquesting an illusion, being more specific in the way you're dealing with time management and the way you're scheduling things. Be kinder with yourself. Tone down the self-talk that's too critical. For you Leos or Leo risers, it's all about the sense of self-worth and value. There may be some new things you want to do to create abundance in your life. So take the risk, be disciplined because Saturn's helping you. Take the risk and maybe launch a new income stream for yourself. Go ahead. You can do it, Leo. Virgo, all eyes are on Virgo. My goodness, this has been the year for Virgo to complete some tasks within themselves, to trust themselves, and to perfect themselves. And here's a great mantra for Virgo: I'm perfectly imperfect. That's what this new moon solar eclipse is telling you, because remember, the new moon is eclipsing and it's also opposite to grumpy old man Saturn. So don't be too hard on yourself, Virgo. You'll be learning some things, though. People will be giving lots of good feedback. For you Libras or Libra rising, it's a great time to take a hold of those spiritual goals, those intuitive goals, rest, meditate, pray, get away from the demanding crowd. It's okay. You don't have to be in the forefront, Libra, this upcoming week, because it's your time to prepare for your birthday, which is coming up the next day when we have, of course, the fall equinox, right? This is a very extraordinary new moon solar eclipse. Okay, our Scorpio friends, it's all about the friends. This new moon solar eclipse may remind you that you can be discerning for the people that you love. You know, some people are going to think like you and you're going to go into the end of your days with those folks in your life. And some people won't, and it's okay with love to let go of certain relationships that are of a friendship nature. For Sagittarius or Sagittarius rising, it's all about your career, your leadership, your ability to make a splash in the world, your legacy, and to have a lot of courage in creating the work you want to have for yourself, Saggy. Capricorn, are you thinking of travel? Are you thinking of expanding or teaching or writing that book or speaking your piece? Because this is a great new moon to do so, and to do so with a lot more confidence for Caps. Aquarius or Aquarius rising, the new moon is activating what we call your powerhouse, your house of intimacy and money, especially money that you're saving and money you're rearranging and money you're managing. So this is a great new moon for you to look ahead for the financial future and you know, dig in your heels and make some changes. And Pisces, beautiful Pisces, this is a fantastic new moon for you to be gentle with your partners. And partners are so much more than significant others. They are your clients, they are your BFFs, and really finding a balance with your social life, that you're not giving too much. You're putting some boundaries up, Pisces, and you're receiving as well as giving. We love the Pisces. They're so darn giving. All right, friends. Hi, Eric. Hi, Donna. Jojo. Aloha, Sherry. Nice to see you from Hawaii. Hi, Gemini baby Joshua. Hi, Karen Marchese. Hello, Nancy. Sounds spot on. I'm glad it does. Virgo perfection is tough. Phew, don't I know about that, Nancy? I'm perfectly imperfect. That's a great one. All right, let's do some spiritual work, friends. And thank you for being here tonight. You know, it's been a long week. Like I said, a lot of processing, but remember the context. Do not judge them. They know not what they do. That's like one of the few scriptures I know. But anyway, you know, really, this is the Pisces Virgo time to bring into balance. Dear God, please allow me to serve. Please allow my words be filled with love and light, truth, inspiration, and healing for the highest, for the best. We align ourselves with the Holy Spirit. Amen. And the first person I'm going to look at here for a message is Carol Monty. Carol, would you like a reading, please? Just say yes, Carol. You're still with me. Yes. Okay, Carol, as I'm tuning into you, my dear, I'm very, very well aware of, I'm seeing a ledger in front of me, not a book, a ledger. Like Carol is trying to make sense of, I think it's a financial document, and you're lining things up, and you're trying to balance something of a financial nature. I'm seeing this ledger. I'm seeing all this mind focus on balancing the budget. Number one. Number two, there's someone on the other side of life who actually did that for a living. It feels like it's an uncle on the father's side of the family, where he would say, you have to get a little creative in your budgeting and a creative in your accounting. Now, I'm not saying he was a cheater. I'm just saying what he's communicating to me. He was a feisty, funny man. Again, an uncle type of energy. This could be a great uncle, but he's saying, honey, don't worry so much about what you're worrying about with these financial issues. It's going to turn out. Just take a breath and refocus and rewind. Hope that makes sense to you, Carol. I'm just the messenger. One more thing. I want to circle the first week of December this year. Either there's a celebration or a reunion or some sort of fun activity that is unexpected for you and family members. It's like the sense of getting together before the holidays, depending of where you are on the planet. It's not necessarily for Thanksgiving. That's the American holiday in late November, but it has to do with a lot of celebration and reunion. I get the first 2 weeks in December. Leaving you with many blessings, Carol. All right. And our next message, I'm with Julice Mendez. Julice Mendez. As I'm tuning into your energy tonight, I want to make sure you say yes. Yes. Just say yes. Oh, that makes sense to you, Carol. I'm so glad. All right, Julius, just say yes. So I make sure you're here. I'm not talking to air. Julius. Okay, great. All right. As I'm with you, I'm hearing a sense of music. I don't know if you do music or if you just love going out to music or dance. I'm getting music and dance. I'm going back 2 decades. I'm going back to, gosh, that long ago. It feels, I want to go back actually 4 decades. I want to go back 40 years ago. And I'm just giving what I'm getting here. I have no idea who you are. I've not read for you before. So I'm feeling this is someone in spirit back 40 years ago, which is a long time. We're talking 1983. I don't think this is about you, but I think it's a relative who's in spirit, that there was someone who passed over, but in the mid 80s, they loved going out. They loved making music. They had a hotel or a restaurant or something. I'm not getting a name or a person specifically, but this energy is reminding you, my dear Julius, that in your life right now, you need more music, you need more dance, and you need more celebration. And you have to factor that in. And they're saying have to. So I don't like it. I'm not saying this. You have to make space for joy and music and laughter, because you are such a dear heart empath. This is coming from 2 people on the other side of life, a man and a woman. And they're saying you're such an empath, and sometimes you're always giving yourself away, and you need to have this release at least once a month. They're saying, like, actively put it on the calendar. It doesn't have to be an expensive thing, but go to a local place for music, laughter, and dance. And I leave that with many blessings to you, Julius. I hope that makes sense. You're saying yes. So I hope it makes sense. I never know. I just love giving the messages, and I trust spirit. I trust my Pisces part of my chart. I will tell you one quick anecdote before I say goodnight to you. So I love astrology. I've been doing it 40 years. And I was looking at this eclipse of the 7th of September, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, it's right on my Mars, my health house. What will happen to me? Nothing, I said. I'm very healthy. I am really healthy. I'm healthy as a horse. Wouldn't you know it? 2 days before the eclipse, I came down with this horrible bronchitis, pneumonia thing. I had to have it treated by an allopathic doctor because I like treating stuff myself, but I'm not a doctor. But it didn't work. So, yes, 15 degrees of Pisces slammed me with that lunar eclipse. And then the day of the eclipse, on the 7th of September, I felt better. So we look at this beautiful gift of Creator God, astrology, to remind us that sometimes we're not always driving the bus, right? We just have to understand what's driving. So many blessings to you guys. Thank you so much. We'll talk, I'm sure, about the eclipse again next week, next Wednesday, and have a blessed week, and make a wonderful ritual or wish or prayer on the solar eclipse, and let go of the negativity. Okay. Bye-bye.